In my opinion, without a doubt, the craziest stat that happened on Sunday was what happened Sunday night. Read this line for you. 20 for 33 for just 104 yards. 104 yards in 33 attempts. That's 3.1 yards per attempt. That's bad for a running back. If you average 3.1 yards per carry, that's bad. And those are Aaron Rodgers' numbers. The 49ers held Aaron Rodgers to 3.15 yards per attempt. Absolutely dominating performance, and maybe the most impressive performance we've seen so far. Now, in fairness, there clearly was an element of the Packers' game plan being trying to, force things around, trying to get some screen passes going, get some passes to the outside, almost get a little air raid with it, because we saw how well that worked for the Cardinals, so maybe if you do something like that, it could work against them, especially with the Packers obviously having more talent than the Cardinals do. However, that would not be the case. San Francisco really took it to them in a lot of very interesting ways, and so let's just jump into it. At the end of the day, what they were really just doing at their best was getting pressure to Rodgers. If you can get pressure to Rodgers, you can have success in this NFL, and you can have success against any team, against any quarterback, even a talented quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. You're going to do well if you can get pressure on him, no doubt about it. And one thing that was absolutely working for San Francisco was twist. And so what that is if you're not sure, it's what you're going to do is what's basically what's going to happen right here, where Nick Bosa is going to kind of run in between the tackle and the guard, and then they'll have Armstead run around the tackle. So basically the idea is the right tackle moves a little bit closer towards the guard to make sure he's blocking Bosa, then Armstead can run around him and get to Rodgers, hopefully without having too much contact happen. And so as you see, Bosa runs over, he does a good job of drawing the tackle in, and so now this means that Armstead should have a pretty straight shot to Rodgers, but of course the downside is now he has to run all the way around, and that takes some time. You do kind of have to pick and choose when you do things like this because, you have to have fast enough interior linemen to be able to make these types of plays, but Armstead is definitely fast enough to make a play like this. He is going to be able to get around the tackle and get to Rodgers. He gets a sack and even knocks the ball out, but only momentarily. So, really just a tremendous play by Armstead and a tremendous play by the 49ers defense. This is the kind of thing they were just doing all game, and it had to have been so frustrating from Rodgers' perspective. I mean, there's not much you can do. If it's 3rd down and 10, and you look up and see no receiver open right away, and now there's pressure coming, the play's over. So, I mean, I don't care how good of a quarterback you have, even a Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers, there's just only so much you can do. They also had some creative play calls, which they don't do too frequently, but it is always fun when the 49ers do things like this because they're just such a talented group that they can pull off pretty much any type of scheme you put in front of them. They're going to show blitz, and it's going to be those two 49ers who are going to drop back into coverage, but it still is going to be a blitz. What they're actually going to do is have a defensive back on the top half of the screen run out, and he'll be the one who's going to try to blitz Rodgers. And then also on the bottom half of the screen, again, it's going to be a twist, where the edge rusher runs like that, and then you have an interior lineman run around him. Hopefully he'll get the Rodgers. So, a lot of things at play here, and really first take a look at the twist, and take a look at how well, once again, it is going to work out. Now, in fairness, this time Green Bay's right guard is going to kind of notice what's going on and try to get back and block him, but there's just too much pressure at this point, and Rodgers is going to go down. Because first there was that twist that worked, and then there was Armstead who won his own one-on-one matchup, and then finally you're able to actually get the sack, and oh, by the way, the ball came out, and Nick Bosa is able to recover it inside the 5-yard line, and that really kind of set the tone for the whole game. I think it was actually a really smart play. When you've started to get this reputation for we're just the kind of team that sends 4 guys every time because we can create pressure by doing that, then when you do send extra guys or when you do mix things up like that, it can really fool opposing players, and it fooled Aaron Rodgers right there, who, if you've watched enough of my videos, I think Aaron Rodgers is one of the best players to ever play the position. And so that's not really a hot take. Obviously, he is a great player, but I've always been so high on Rodgers, and they made someone of that caliber look like a mediocre player, and actually well below mediocre. I mean, here's a crazy stat for you. 46 running backs who are eligible because they have enough carries have averaged more yards per carry than Aaron Rodgers averaged per attempt on this game. And honestly, it's hard to really blame Rodgers that much. I mean, maybe he missed a throw here and there, but I didn't think he was bad whatsoever. I thought he made some pretty good throws here and there, but there was just no way of getting the ball downfield. There really wasn't. And it really is true that it's not just their star players playing well. I mean, you talk about football being the ultimate team sport, and it just seems like no matter who they put out there, they're going to be able to find a way to make some plays. You could put out me in a Mickey Mouse costume out there and put me in a 49ers jersey, and I'd probably still find a way to get a tackle for a loss some way. I mean, that's just seemingly the way it works for the 49ers. Like here you have DJ Jones going up one-on-one against a center, which is obviously a good situation, but at the same time, Green Bay's kind of saying, okay, we have Nick Bosa over here, we have all these talented guys, DJ Jones is in the game, let's hope that maybe we can get a favorable matchup with him, we can put our center on him, and then we can kind of use our other resources for more of these talented guys. But for Jones, watch how quickly he gets that first step up. At this point, the play is over, and Jones is going to be able to get through, because a center is trying to get his hands up, because that's the problem with a center in a run blocking system, is you have to get your hands up quickly if you're going to block someone on a one-on-one matchup. That's why oftentimes you see centers have a double team or be a part of a double team. So you can have a guard basically get the hands right away, and it gives your center a little bit more time to get the hand placement that he wants. But because Jones moved so quickly, he's able to just lightning fast, just step over, and then he gets over to Jamal Williams, makes a tackle for a loss. Just a tremendous play, it really was. And again, keep in mind, that isn't coming from Nick Bosa. That's not coming from DeForest Buckner. That's coming from their role players. Their role players are making highlight reel level plays. That's where they're at. And of course, it's not just their defensive line. You know, a defensive line can only do so much. You have to be able to defend the pass as well. And this is a great example where right off the bat, it's going to be man coverage. And for Green Bay, they have a receiver running that route right there, which is a route they like against this situation. It's a 3rd down and 8. You need the 8 yards. No 49ers in the middle of the field. There's 2 safeties who are deep, so this could absolutely be a good play. And not just that, but it's the always reliable Davante Adams, so maybe if things go wrong, he could still potentially make a great play and try to get the first down that way. So that's definitely where Rodgers is going to look to throw, and especially after the ball is snapped, when Davante Adams, he's open, so clearly this is where they're going to try to make this play work. And so Rodgers does make the throw in that direction, but look at how well Jimmy Ward reads this play, runs in, and makes a break on the ball and is able to make the tackle. In fairness, that wasn't a straight-up cover 2. He was actually playing a robber concept where he was designed to break over the middle, but at the same time, it's still not easy to make a tackle like that. And also just a good play call by the 49ers to call a robber there, get a safety to move over the middle, so when Rodgers does throw a ball over the middle, a safety's in the area where he can make a tackle or potentially knock the ball away. Again, that's why I'm kind of really not that down on the Packers after this game as much as I am just very high on the 49ers. I just think that the things that have to go wrong for the 49ers to lose a football game are just so huge. I mean, you look at the one game they lost, they nearly won it. I mean, it took an overtime loss where there was a missed field goal, and also I do feel like they had some bad bounces throughout that game. Granted, so did Seattle, but as a whole, you know, it was a wild game that they easily could have won. And of course, if I'm going to talk about the defensive line and the secondary, I have to talk about the linebacking core a little bit. So the way this play is going to work is it is going to be a screen pass. And so for Green Bay, they're going to have 2 offensive linemen run out to block linebackers. So really, that lineman is the one I'm going to want you to take a look at. Because as Jamal Williams is running out to try to get open and be in position where he can take the screen pass, if you notice, the lineman who's in charge of blocking Fred Warner has some room to run. He's not quite there yet. And Warner's speed is just going to be too much. He just runs by everybody and is able to run over and make the tackle. I really find it quite fascinating what the 49ers have done, the way that they just built this defense in a large part just through free agency, which you don't really see teams do too often, but it has worked out, and it's even more impressive just with the injuries they've had. This has not been a perfect season for them by any means, but they've still found ways to win football games, and in my opinion, it's them and Baltimore as the 2 best teams in the NFL right now, so who knows, we could see a Super Bowl rematch from a few years ago. And oh, by the way, those 2 teams that, in my opinion, are the 2 best teams in the NFL right now, at least they're playing at the best in the NFL, you do have to include the Patriots, but it's probably those 3 teams, and I would say right now it's the Niners and the Ravens. They play each other next week, so that's going to be quite the matchup. Honestly, I might just say, you know what, I don't need Red Zone, I'm just going to watch that game for the 1 o'clock matchup. It really sucks it's not on prime time, but I might just, forget Red Zone, watch all of the games later like I always do anyways. I make sure I watch every game because it's my job. It's a pretty easy job being a YouTuber. I might as well put some actual effort into it. So, yeah. It's also pretty crazy to think how the 49ers went from Super Bowl contenders to bottom dwellers to Super Bowl contenders again in such a short span of time. It's quite fascinating. But, yeah, that's the thought of the 49ers' dominating performance over the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching.